Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Test, test. I'm getting my green bars in the admin panel. All right. Thank you for the feedback that the sound's working. Well, good for those of you who are able to make it. I appreciate your commitment to being here live. I've explained my sentiment on that before. And I know it's just the start, and we'll have more people joining as time goes on, but we're about 50% of the attendance of last week. So, something I'm keeping my eye on. Thanks for all the greetings. So how's everybody doing? Super awesome. Doing fine like a good wine. I like that. Let me see here. Good luck with the move, Todd. I know what that's like. Ready for wisdom. Oh, I think you're on the wrong channel. Optimistic. I like that. Sitting at work, making time for this. That's good. Don't get fired. Good. A little bit more clarity. On the long road on how to learn to not take crap trades. Yeah, good. Yep. Consistency in submitting forks. Time to add some FIBAs to them. Absolutely. There you go. Up at 4 for the 5 a.m. session. Well, a lot of you are making sacrifices to be here live, and that's for you. It's great. Sometimes you'll see, and it's not meant to be harsh or indifferent, but you'll see some of the older traders sometimes, kind of playing the little magic violins with their thumb and their index finger, because, way back when we didn't record anything. We didn't record classes. We didn't record OCRs. You attended or you didn't, and people made the sacrifice to attend. And there you go. Gary's traveling, so 6.5 hours from home. So, it's just a matter of your perspective, but just be sure your perspective doesn't include excuses. It's easy to transition from reality to excuse, or vice versa. But yeah, I found that over time, and that's what I've done in the past, is I've gone away then from the live OCR and went to what I call a virtual OCR, which is where I just record it when it's convenient to me and then post it. But you lose something, you know. I mean, I've always loved the impromptu nature of live trading and impromptu questions. And, you know, back in the day, Brian and I would both always say our best, you know, when we finished a session, we'd go, yeah, that was a great session. It was always those sessions where we had impromptu questions, which led to great teaching moments. And then in response to that question, it generated other questions and other traders. And you just can't get that from a recorded class. Excuse me. Yeah, so I had a dry throat and I'm drinking my water and it caused a tickle. And sometimes that tickle just gets out of control. Sorry. So I want to start off today a little bit of a Soapbox Thursday. I keep saying I'm not going to do Soapbox Thursdays, but I'm going to start off with it and we'll see where it goes. And so let me see how I want to say this to be both transparent and yet diplomatic. So I don't want to sound harsh, but you know, of the people here right now, I think we'll have better than average success rates as one would measure success in the forex. Excuse me. Meaning, I think about 20% of you are going to be great traders. About 20% of you are going to be so-so traders. And about 60% of you will eventually fade into the woodwork. Said it. Now, what's going to make the difference between those three groups? That's the key question you should be asking, right? Which, you know, as they used to say in the old, you know, live seminars you would go to attend, and they would say, yeah, you know, 2 out of 3 people is gonna, you know, not make it. Look to your left and look to your right. They're not going to make it. The trouble is, while you're doing that, somebody else is doing it too, and you're in there 2 of the 3 that's not going to make it. So don't just allow your ego to say, "Oh, I'm going to be the one." I'm here to teach mastery. There's plenty of places to get mediocrity, and I'm not saying anything wrong about it, but you have to decide what you want. And I will be honest and say I cater to those with the big dreams. I cater to those with the big whys because it takes the big why to overcome the obstacles you're going to run into as a trader. It's that simple. And so if you don't have big whys and I don't see it and I don't hear it and you don't express it, you're going to get run over by the obstacles most likely. They're going to become so much bigger than whatever why you have. And that's what leads to burnout and other things taking priority. You know, first of all, you deceive yourself. Oh, yeah, I'm still at this. You know, that came up. And then next week, 2 things come up, and 2 things come up. And then the next week, 3 things come up. And now you're habitualizing, you know, your deprioritization of your Forex goals. The reality is the Forex is not for everybody, not just because of the effort it's going to take, but some traders are not money hungry. They still have latent or deep feelings about excessive money or abundant money being evil, either taught to them by family, friends, church, whatever. And, money's not the end game. It's what you're going to do with the money that is the end game, and who you have to become in order to get that money. And sometimes that takes bold moves. That takes the, Cortez burn the boats mindset. It's this or nothing. It's this or nothing. And until there's that kind of commitment, you'll never be super abundant as a trader. You may do okay. You may do okay. You may make hobby money. There's nothing wrong with hobby money if that's all you're looking for and that's all you need. So I don't look at you any differently in terms of that. Your road is actually harder because the frequency of your effort is going to drag out the day to getting to some level of proficiency. You're going to forget more and have to restudy and repeat what others don't because they've kept momentum and a sense of urgency in their effort. And in the end, what looks like the easier, lazier path ends up being the path with greater failure because the energy and the effort and the momentum just isn't there. But what I want to get to, and that's just kind of the precursor, the preamble, if you will. For many years, I've just had this kind of Catholic guilt, I guess. I'd say Jewish guilt, except I was raised Catholic. And I'm not trying to be, derogatory to either religion, but just my reality. Maybe it was my limbic imprint, or maybe it was my upbringing. But I feel, if somebody bought training from me, I have an obligation to make them successful. And I've stuck with that for many, many years until it starts to chisel away at who I am as a person, who I am as a coach, in my mental availability for you. And so in the last couple years especially, I've come to realize, that there is truth in the old expression, you can lead a horse to water. But I'm not going to jump on the horse's head to force it down to the creek. And one of the things I've concluded is in evaluating, that guilt, the time I have, the fulfillment I get from coaching, etc. And you wrap that all up into one big formula. And I don't know how that's weighted. I just know the results. And you get to a point where you say, is it worth trying to get that one horse to get his head down to the water and go through extraordinary efforts to do that, while there's plenty of ambitious horses, back in the meadow that just need to see the way to the creek? In other words, trying to take everybody to the end line, you will sacrifice some people who could have got there. And so, over the last couple of years, I've realized that, especially this last year. And where does that all go? I'm just being transparent as I can, guys. I've said many times, for those of you who've been around me many years, I've said I am not the most knowledgeable Forex trader. I've embellished that sometimes to say I probably know less than 1% of what there is to know about Forex trading. But I've niched myself, multiple time frame analysis, wave convergences, tight stops, selecting and sorting through volumes of trades and knowing what will work and what won't work through my experience. And so my little niche, I know better than most people. I've said previously, I know of some multi-wave traders who know more about multi-wave than I do, because since it's been available for so long, many of them have had much more native gifted intelligence, and many have had much more time to be on the charts. When I'm teaching and when I'm researching and when I'm building, even though they're half-assed, but, my cutesy little slides, that takes time. To build a curriculum for a course takes time. And that time could have been spent trading. That time could have been spent doing my own study and research to further my knowledge. So there are traders that I've taught that have become greater than the teacher. And, I'm not crying over it, and it's not a competition, but it's a stated fact. Got TAB29 out now. It's a defining kind of moment for my trading career as well as my coaching career. It is, to me, as I'm aware, no bias, but just as I'm aware, the hottest multiple time frame analysis one can do. It's not perfect. It's less perfect when you try and force a trade into it. It's very good in repeatability. Find something that works, it's going to work 90% of the time. Yeah, doing it. And so, what, even here in the short term, I'm just, I'm expressing my heart. You guys are students of mine. You're customers, clients, friends of mine in the trading world. I have a big group, iMarkets Live, Scans, Forks, and Fibos, which is comprised of IML traders, IML prospects, and a lot of traders who have, bumped into me over the years and are continuing to follow me in that group. But for that group, because it's so large, I have 12 admins who help me coach in that group. In fact, they do the majority of it at this point. I kind of jump in when, they're half there or they ask me to. They do a good job, and, they volunteer their time to help other people. It's one way they are giving back. And I appreciate them to no end. I love them to no end because of their heart to help other people. But we have our own group. We have our own little subgroup, admins and coaches for that group. And, for levity, we sometimes talk about some traders' posts. And a common theme in that group, even for the admins and coaches who have only been doing it 6-9 months, is, what is wrong with people? Why do you show them something and then they not take it in and use it? Why do they do the same mistakes over and over again, almost in absolute defiance of what we show them? Some of those admins are here right now, and so, I can't lie about that. Yeah, one of them is saying, oh, don't spill all our secrets. And so, even at a young, nominal tenure in the realm of being a coach, they're already getting that sensation. And what I've done over the years is done my best to bite my tongue and still smile and go on and try and coach those traders on and on and on because damn it, I want that horse to drink water. But I'm at the end of that. It's taxing. And one of the very first analogies I've ever used was, the minefield, where I know I can line up 100 people and say, hey, our objective is to get to the other side, and I walk across, and 50 walk across with me, 25 walk halfway across and then go their own way, and right from the get-go, 25 go their own way. And it hurts. And it hurts not from an ego perspective. It hurts because I know some of those people aren't going to make it. And I struggle to figure out why they do that. Why do they jump out of the footsteps? Why do they, from the very first start, try and take their own way? All I know is that that experiment can be repeated year after year after year, and the statistics are going to be about the same. And so I just have to, from a moral compass perspective, I need to get rid of the mindset of I have to have every horse drink from the creek and say just the reality. If some people want to be a lost cause, they have free domain over making that choice. I warn them, but hey, there you go. And my time is better spent with those who are, is that really a footprint or not? And help those that want to get to the other side by following the footprints to get to the other side. Absolutely, old habits are hard to die, right? And it's very hard to compartmentalize our attitude, behavior, and thinking. So we're going to bring to our trading world that with which we're used to operating in the non-trading world. And this is why self-development is so important, because we can't become successful traders without growing ourselves. But once we do, it'll benefit all other areas of our lives as well. So that's just a little bit of soapbox, but the reason I mention it is this. We've had 2 weeks of OCRs before this one. And in those OCRs, we have several levels of traders. And the ones it's not like I want to ignore anybody, but the ones I still have a strong affinity for are those that have shown some desire, those that have shown some of the effort, but for whatever reasons have big or small challenges. Most of the time, it's just a tweak. Now that tweak, because it's unknown, the unknown fix, maybe the fix seems humongous to them. And I could see it and I go, I know what they're doing here. And so I know sometimes the fix is small. But there's a pocket of people, and it's those that have been through the training and are still fairly green. And so I say, here's my recommendation, and this is within the last 2 weeks. And that is, guys, what's the green level of TAB29 trading? What is the first place we need to find success? And I detailed that. Hey, it's a TAB29 10-minute entry where the 30-minute wave is of no influence to the trade. Am I wrong there? Is that like the first time you guys are ever hearing this? A 10-minute harmonic wave convergence for which the 30-minute wave is not an influencer. Find success there first. Why? Because you can leverage that into other things. It's the place to start. It's the most simple kind of trade. And it's the trade you need to move from mechanical consciousness to subconscious trading. That is That statement, do the 10-minute harmonic wave convergence, master it, transition from mechanical conscious trading to subconscious trading with just that, because then you've gone through some growth, it'll speed up. Now it's essentially you learn how to learn by mastering that 10-minute harmonic wave convergence trade. To me, that is saying, here's the minefield, here's the footsteps to get to the other side. And yet, what do I see in the groups? Well, the 240 is doing this, and the 30-minute was at the other extreme, and couldn't tell whether it was divergence. I couldn't tell whether it was proportionate or not. And I'm like, what? What? Show me your journal with 20, 40, 50, 10-minute harmonic wave convergences without the 30-minute wave giving influence. Why is it when the paths across the minefield are shown, the traders decide to avoid it? Somebody help me. What is the reason? When I say not influencing, I mean it's not approaching a convergence. It's not in a massive retrace. It's lollygagging around the middle of the channel. And it may be headed up and it may be headed down in terms of looking at it on a 30-minute chart or a 240 chart, but in terms of its immediate influence over your next 8 to 9 1-minute candles, it doesn't have an influence on it. And therefore, your 10-minute wave harmonic convergence will always be pretty much the same thing. The only thing determining how successful and or whether or not there might be a -3 or a +1 or whatever, the only thing that determines that then is the scale of the channels you're working with, the potentiality of what's really there. But even so, taking a 10-minute wave, harmonic wave convergence without the 30-minute wave as influence, you will soon gauge what size channel you're looking for because it'll become obvious. And yet, all I see are these umpty-ump trades. And yes, Shredder, yes, TAB29, Cowie, Trader Cat's trying to talk about the 30 not influencing. Trader Cat trying to influence my presentation here. What are you doing? Yeah. So I look at these posts, and look, it's not everybody, but it's enough. I'm like, wait, I saw you here live at the OCR last week when I did my last soapbox on this is the place to start if you're being challenged. And yet, here's the trades. 240 doing this, 30 doing that, blah, 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 -1. No, you're not trying to understand where impulsivity is. It is already defined for you. It's at the point of harmonic wave convergence. The only reason you have to try and define impulsivity is because you're further away from the convergence, trying to do something with the waves and trying to interpret whether you're going with impulsivity or into the correction. But that's totally skipping the 10-minute wave harmonic wave convergence. You're not trying to understand waveology there, my friend. Because it's already defined. It's impulsive in the direction you're going from the 10-minute convergence. That's why I said without 30-minute influence. I don't understand which 10-minute wave to take. I don't understand that question or that statement. Trying to understand which 10-minute wave to take. Everyone that isn't influenced by the 30-minute wave. That's the 10-minute harmonic wave convergence that you take. Yeah, KISS. Exactly right, Gary. Gary's got all that wisdom because he's been trading forever. KISS. But look, so I mean, I know the reasons why those aren't the trades you want to take, but do you? Do you have the ability to look in the mirror and say why it is you're taking those trades? No, I don't. I've said this too many times. It's not good for my level of coaching to have an open chat room because there's too much chit chat. There's questions off subject. It distracts people. If it's a question, I'll ask it. If it's a statement, I'll make the statement that the trader made. And I want people to have the freedom, knowing I'm the only one that can see what they're asking or stating. If the chat's open, that holds back about 40% of the traders because they don't want to say things. Embarrassment, pride, ego, etc. It is FOMO. It's not so much greed, it's FOMO and desperation. It's FOMO and desperation. That's why, and ego. Yeah, I got to throw that in there, Todd. It is a little ego. That's why traders meander off the footpath across the minefield. That's why traders from the very first step don't take it. There is no logical reason when the objective, and the only objective, is to get to the other side of the minefield, why somebody won't follow the footpath that gets you there. Yeah, it is Gregor's law. I don't want to be arrogant about that, but Gregor's law always was, if you have multiple choices, if you have multiple steps, you don't get to choose which ones to take and not take. And then you choose not to take some, and you go, this doesn't work. Oh, it's such a struggle. Oh, I spent so much time at it, and I'm still not a good trader. The trader physiology video was all about understanding how your brain works. The thalamic gateway, RAS, the amygdala, emotion, endorphin rush, sadness, happiness, shuts down RAS, how the ego fuels into all that. That's there so you understand how the learning process takes place. And so the whole system, the whole package is about learning, studying, applying, not to win, but to show yourself and others around where you are in that learning process. It's not a gold star, silver star, bronze star as far as the accuracy and the success of your posted trade or your posted pitchfork. The gold star goes to the trader who posts all his trades, good and bad, because they know that's how they're going to improve, by learning what not to do, not by trying to get it right, not by trying to keep score. And the reason a lot of you don't want to do a 10-minute harmonic wave convergence, in addition to FOMO, in addition to desperation, in addition to ego, is because it's not big enough of a move for you. Because despite being able to get to $2.5 million in 24 months at an aggressive trading level, or $1 million in 24 months at an aggressive level, even though you can't trade your way out of a paper bag today, that money is not good enough for you. That logic I just don't get. But that's why you don't want to take the 10-minute harmonic wave convergence. I've taken so many of those and it's only 3 pips. All right, so I have a question here. I'll answer this. It's a technical question. So it's about forks. And the question essentially is, let me get my eyes retrained. Can you use 2 forks off the same swing with different angles to create energy point as a valid energy point? Are energy points only valid from forks off 2 different swings? Well, let's assume we're on the same time frame. What do we trade as new paradigm traders? What is our style of trading? Do we chase trades? Do we hunt for trades? We trap trades. We trap trades and we sort and select based on that because we recognize over a volume of trades, that VOT, and our KSP at that point, we learn what not to trust. We know what to trust. We already know when we hit that buy or sell button, click on that button, we already know we're going to win the trade. Not out of positive affirmation, law of attraction, but out of our KSP. And the ones that were iffy, the ones that sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, we learn to filter out because we learn the losing part is not fun. It's not fun on our bank account and it's not fun on the mental game. So it's a sorting process. Once you learn what you're looking for, it's a sorting process of the results too. That's how you gain your KSP. So if the concept is to trap, you live in a subdivision somewhere, a nice subdivision, and you got some possums or raccoons making a mess of your yard at night, and you go to the animal shelter or your local warden or whatever you got going on, or you live in what country and whatnot, and they say, okay, here's a raccoon trap. Bait it with this. Does he tell you where you must put that raccoon trap? No. Or she. Don't want to be genderless in terms of our game warden or animal control personnel. They don't tell you where to put it. They might say something like, well, put it in the path. If you know a path he walks, put it in that path. But that doesn't mean you can't put it out in the middle of your sidewalk or your driveway or behind the shed, or put it where you want. Is it not? Will the game warden not accept the raccoon in the cage that you bring to him because you put the trap somewhere other than where it might normally go? Oh no, that's not a qualified catch there, my friend. You got to take it and let that raccoon go. You must put the trap only where I tell you to put it. So I had a trader this morning ask kind of a similar question. It was in our scans group, right? He had a couple different pitchforks, and he's like, which one is the most correct? Who knows what my answer is going to be to that? Which of the three pitchforks is the most correct? Yeah, whichever one gives you trades. They're all correct. Well, I know they're correct because you say there's no such thing as a wrong fork, but some might be better than others. Well, yes, there's a truth to that. But once you get down to what is this, here's three different forks I can draw off the same swing, which one's better? You're not penalized for drawing a pitchfork on your chart unless you have some great or mysterious or not so great, you got some great script that will automatically enter you on a limit order basis on the upper and lower parallel and the median. Having a pitchfork on your chart costs you zero. It is of no danger to your bank account. So if you have that raccoon to trap, theoretically, would you like 1 or 5 traps? And then which one's better? If they're all baited the same, which one's better? You don't know the path that raccoon's going to take tonight. You don't even know if he's going to come by tonight. Yeah. In the end, the best raccoon trap is the one that catches them. But we don't know that until after the fact. So if you see me put up some fork and you copy it and you see something else on your charts that might be a best fit, and you just have that vibe because you've already drawn 300 forks and you kind of have a vibe of your own on the charts, and you use that same angle and you swing it differently and you get some touches, well, I don't think you'd say, I like this one better than Steve's, delete Steve's. I don't think you should say, well, this is what Steve, God, he brags about 12 years of trading pitchforks. I might as well take mine off the charts. No. What cost is it to have both of them there? And if they're off the same swing, guess what? Are your fork fibos going to be the same for both charts? For both pitchforks? Is your fork fibbo going to be the same? To eliminate your confusion, yeah, Gary says watch out for clutter. To eliminate your confusion, just have a fork with 3 lines on it. You really want a trade off the top, middle, or bottom parallel. And you want that, as you move forward in your trading, you really want that to be off an energy point. A fork Fibonacci, something bigger, something smaller from other time frames. You've got INS. And then you've got what? Clusters, HPRs, PRZs to help. So don't be afraid to have 2 forks on your chart. Don't be afraid to have 2 forks on your chart on the same swing. I don't know how many times I've done that in my IML sessions. So half you guys get to see that. Care whether it's Forex or crypto. Now, even more so, I'm not talking to the general audience at iMarkets Live Scans, Forks, and Fibos, which you all should be members of that group. You're missing out if you're not. There's so many nuggets that get dropped there during the week. It's not even funny. So now we're just talking to, I would give this same question, the same answer, if I were talking to that Scans, Forks, and Fibos group. But you guys are one notch above that. You have, well, several notches above. You have TAB29. So I have a pitchfork, and then the next day I go back and I see another angle might actually make some touches, or I see other touches and I might see an angle on it. And I draw another fork, and I go, well, I guess this one just isn't as qualified because it's not the one I first put on here. It's not that traditional fork that I drew yesterday. And yet you have a 1618 Fibo extension hitting a part of the fork at the time you have harmonic wave convergence on that best fit you drew the second or third day, and you're worried about it, can that actually be a valid trade? Sure, it's a trade. Price came to that second fork, to the 1618, and you turn on INS, and oh, gee, there's a Fibo pivot right on top of it. I've demoed, some of my IML sessions, turning on various INS components on top of a fork Fibo, and the accuracy is so good of one line sitting on top of another, the line blends to a changed color. One's a yellow line, one's a blue line, and they overlap such that you only have a green line now. That's a to the pip overlap. So, as I put out on the cheat sheet for which is an extended retrace, which is a projection on pitchforks the other day, we have three Fibonacci. Well, we have one Fibonacci. We have three reversal areas of high probability. The first one is a PRZ. That comes from the tip of a harmonic scan. And there's several lines in there, but they generally are zones. That's why it's a potential reversal zone. That zone could be 10 pips wide, it could be 20 pips wide. It depends on the time period of the harmonic scan. Now, in that zone, the trade is where you have harmonic wave convergence. If you can find overlapping other lines that lie in that zone, that's great. So a PRZ is a reversal zone, very hot because of the consecutive Fibonacci's used to create that zone. Then we have a Fibonacci cluster. A Fibonacci cluster is multiple Fibonacci's, not other things, no other support and resistance systems, but multiple Fibonacci's sitting on top of each other in some fashion. And let me see. I know that looks busy, but just hang in there a second. Those in IML have probably seen this if they've been to my session. So this comes about from, I had a phone call with Christopher Terry on Saturday, and we were just talking, smack about trading and a few other things inside potentiality for IML. And he was discussing one of the swing trades that he just posted an hour before we were talking. And he went ahead and did some analysis. And I said, that's all very nice, Chris. Let me show you pitchfork with Fibonacci. And so we had this big move, no doubt. Now this is a crypto, Tron. We had some big move. This kind of thing happens in the crypto world. And so what do? Put a fibbo on it. Boom. Then essentially that is a fork fibbo. Not essentially, that is a fork fibbo. And then I said, look, I have a big move. And for those of you who have looked a little bit at Elliott wave, you should recognize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a 1. Here's your retracement back into that 50, 61, 8 zone where it bounces 73% of the time. And then what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is probably the 3. I don't do Elliott wave a lot, but this is just so dang visible. We were looking at the chart somewhere in here. And then you see A, B, C. So you can start to measure the retracement of that move, the overall retracement of that move. It's a big swing inside the pitchfork. So I can measure up, turn my thickness on here, coming back down. There we are, 38, 50. Check this out, right in the middle of that purple box. There's a line, 61.8. But here's the big move down, retracing back up, 61.8. Those two lines lay on top of each other so well, you can't even tell right here that it's two lines. Well, excuse me, right here, that it's two lines. That is a Fibbo cluster. Two or more Fibonacci's from different swings, or it could be from different forms of swings. It could be a projection. It could be, in this case, we have a retracement from one and a retracement from the other in the opposite directions. They could be extended retracements. They could be projections. They could be anything. They could be, a simple move on a 4-hour chart where, this big move back is only 23.6 on the 4-hour chart. Doesn't really matter. All you need to see is that I got two different Fibonacci runs and they lay right on top of each other. Just so happens they're both 61.8. That's a Fibonacci cluster. So the question was, how do you know which way to point the fork on just one candle? Because the subsequent traffic was up. Oh no, the magic Fibbo. Yeah, you see, here's the magic Fibbo. Check this out. Put it at the top, drag it down until the 27 hits the A. The B should be predicted at the 72 fork to the pip. A, B, projection for C. As I've said, the B is a much more accurate predictor. Everybody's chasing the C, but if you nail that B at a daily convergence, and you can see that downstream on your charts, that the B to C run is more safe than trying to catch the C. So yeah, he had not known of the Magic Fibbo tool, so did a little video for him, taught him a little bit about the Magic Fibbo tool. So that is a Fibbo cluster. We have a PRZ, which is a zone on a harmonic scan. Fibbo clusters are two or more lines that lie on top of each other. Now, I would still generally, within you have to watch your scale here because this is a daily chart. But if this was a 15-minute chart, and I had even 10 pip channels, if that was the case, this would be a Fibonacci cluster. If they're within 1 or 2 pips, you want to watch them. In the case of a daily chart where you draw your Fibos accurately and they lay on top of each other, you're pretty good to go. And it just so happens that I've been trading and plotting and analyzing crypto long before I started. For months and months, for half a year. Since the late summer into early fall. And I've just seen too many times where they retraced to 61.8 to the T. I don't predict things, but what does a BC move look like? What's the structure of a BC move? Yeah, it's a 5-wave, isn't it? So A, 5-wave, B, AB, BC is a 5-wave move. Look, 1, 2, 3, and a consolidation. So the world of possibility for this to drop down is there. It may even drop down to hit the pitchfork, which is why I have that cross there, the 61.8 and the pitchfork. But it may reach the 61.8 over here. It may hit the pitchfork here and bounce. It might not get down to the 61.8. Those are just traps. There's no right or wrong. There's no forecast in it. I just want to see what the world of possibilities are. If it hits it, it hits it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No big deal. But anyway, I only brought this out to explain what a Fibo cluster is. So now we have a PRZ, which is a zone. We have a Fibo cluster, which should be several, 2 or more. They must be Fibo lines. Typically in a 1 to 2 pip zone, which essentially is a line. Zone up here, that could be 10 to 20 depending on time frame. And then we have this thing we created, I created several years ago, called an HPR. HPR is a concept very similar to a Fibo cluster, except it's made out of general support and resistance lines. You may have some Fibo in there as well. But 2 Fibo lines 7 pips apart is not a cluster, and it's not an HPR. So HPRs are typically much tighter than a PRZ, maybe just a few pips looser than a Fibo cluster. So I think we generally say, by the time you get to maybe 1 to 4 pips, especially the way we trade, if I can get, 2, 3, 4 lines in a 1 to 4 pip range, I want to pay attention to that little tiny zone. So those are the 3 major kinds of reversals that can create energy points. Most of my trading is with scans and pitchforks. I do very little TAB29 on its own. Been there, done that. I'm okay with it. I can, So I've evolved to where 75, 80% of my trading is on scans and pitch, or the Charlie Delta fork in the X-ray alpha fork on a scan, because they're so high percentage. They're so full of Fibonacci-ness. It's like, wait a second here. I have the skills, I've got the tools, and I'm going to take trades with lower percentage possibilities. That doesn't mean they're not good trades. Maybe my skill set and what I know and my KSP will let me trade at the 80% level. But, oh, gee, when I trade Charlie Delta and X-ray alpha forks, I'm at the 92% level. Why would I want to trade at the 80% level? It's not that it's wrong. It's just I've got the time and the skills, I can trade above that. So yes, if you're trading TAB29, just like you were very, in green shredder days, if you will, you'd like to see some sort of INS or SNR bounce, and that can be Fibo. You want that SNR bounce at the time of convergence. That goes back to the most simple definition of harmonic wave convergence. INS candle, 2 pips of pullback, convergence, Absolutely. Trying to make sure I haven't got some questions covered here. Yep, I think I got them all covered here so far. All right. So anyway, let me get back to the soapbox. Let me get back to the main point. I'm just going to be, I don't want to discourage learning through posting. That's part of the process, that coaching process, because you can't learn to trade on your own. You need extra eyes because you can't trade. Why can't you learn to trade on your own? Because your RAS is your RAS. And you can't tell if it's screening out stuff you need to see. Somebody else who's been through that learning process already and has the KSP can say, don't do this, do this. That's where you learn. So, and it also helps you overcome your ego. Mama's protective arm around you goes away. You're standing on your own. So post the trades. But here's what's going to happen. If a trader is posting trades that are complex trades beyond 10-minute harmonic wave convergence, or the 30-minute level isn't at an influence point, I'm going to give one simple comment, and that's going to be, show me your 50 10-minute harmonic wave convergence trades, please. I'm going to remind you in your face. Because you're asking me to do something and you're asking your fellow traders to do something that's not fair to ask them. You're asking them to give you the shortcuts that you don't deserve to have because you have not yet paid the price for the early stuff. And it's not a how dare you, it's why are you wasting our time? You haven't proven yet that you're ready to be taking these trades. You don't have enough of the foundations down. You haven't learned enough of what not to do at the baby step level. And here you are, jumped out of kindergarten, jumped out of elementary school. Here you are in high school trying to do high school stuff and you haven't passed preschool yet. And some of you, I'm just going to say this, some of you have to be hit in the head every other day. And I don't get that. That's the part I don't get as a coach. Because many of you I've told the same thing to over and over and over and over again. That's how maybe you just have this attitude, well, I can get away with it because what can he do? You know, damn him anyway. I'm not like the other traders that have to go through this progression in a creep, crawl, walk form. After all, I'm super trader. Yes, me. My ego has told me I'm super trader. I don't need to do the steps to get there right. And if you can't take notes, and if you catch yourself hearing me telling you the same thing 2, 3 times, you better take those notes. You better take those comments and make some post-it notes and stick them to your damn monitors. Because after I say, show me your 50 harmonic wave convergence at the 10-minute level without the 30-minute influencing it, comment, and you do whatever it is again with some complex, oh, the 4-hour wave's this, the 30-minute wave that, and I think the 10-minute, I think it's cycling, no, it's retrace. -1. The next comment is just going to be, I give up. I'm going to be honest. There are more horses that want to get to the water. If you're dragged to the water and you can't stick your head in the friggin' creek, I'm sorry, you're not going to make it as a trader, and I'm wasting time. You're asking the community to waste their time commenting on your charts and your setups. Creep, crawl, walk, run. Well, not in such a demanding way. So a trader said, so in summary, you want to see 10-minute trades with no 30-minute influence from here on out. That's up to the individual trader where they are in their trading. Some traders have that down and they don't need to trade that anymore. I'm saying you shouldn't advance yourself unless you can, unless you have. And it's not a count. You know, I get this from green traders too. And I get green traders who, you know, are trying to trade every impulsive move out there. That's all I see them submit. You know, hey, we don't trade impulsive moves. We don't trade impulsive moves. What defines an impulsive move? Define it for them. Next trade, impulsive move. Traders that, you know, purple leading blue means nothing to them. Hey, that's purple leading blue. It's almost always going to retrace, you know, and you're not ready for that. You don't know how to get out of a retrace yet. So let's just skip purple leading blue for now. 10 trades later, you know, they submit, you know, 4 trades in a 24-hour period. And 3 out of the 4 are purple leading the blue. I said, what am I missing here? One of the attributes in the TAB29 course, I know it was a quick run. I talked about this last week, and I'm working on a revision of it. You know, all the attributes of a successful trader. And one of them is you have to be coachable. You have to be coachable. And that's a statement about submitting to the learning process. That's a statement about for here, for now, with TAB29, I have to submit to Steve being the coach. As I've said, there's 99% other things that I'm not an expert at. And, you know, once you achieve success here, you want to add that stuff to it. Go ahead, make yourself a super TAB29 trader using something else. That's great. I'm not going to be upset by that. I'll applaud it. But learn TAB29 first. Achieve success first. That green trader may have reached 50 trades or 60 trades. And it's not about the trade count. It's about what they're at, what level they're at, what their KSP is now with green trades. Same thing with bronze. It's not about a count. It's about where your mastery is. Some bronze traders, you know, I can't stop you because technically you bought the course. But I can say I don't think you're ready yet because I haven't seen demonstration of mastery in this, in this, in this. Awareness. Exactly. Awareness. That's what leads to KSP. That's what leads to transitioning from conscious to subconscious trading. There's anybody in here who doesn't have the ability to do this and to excel at it. You have to be driven by your dream. Inside the level of the dream that you have and why you have, your values have to be in alignment with that, meaning your values dictate what your priority is going to be on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And if your values are in conflict with your goal, you're never going to reach your goal. So your values have to align, you know. I want to be a millionaire. You know, that's my goal, man. I want to make $1 million in 24 months. Are you willing to put in 6 hours a day for the next 12 months? Well, I got my job and I got to get my sleep and, I got to help do the laundry and I got blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm not judging your life. But if your short-term priorities are going to be such that you can't do what you need to do to become a millionaire, you're not going to become a millionaire trader. And because those are your values, nothing wrong with them. I'm not judging values. I have my own that have guided me in my trading, that have aligned with and have been in conflict with my goals. So I get it. But just don't expect me to take you to the creek when other traders are putting in the effort to become the millionaire trader. Because either they've sacrificed, or they've changed their schedules, or they've done the math and say, you know what, I can go hard for a year. I'm going to have to burn the bridges on some things, and then I'll have the next 40 years to myself. I'll be financially free. Rather than spending 40 years, because the job was so important, to get a retirement check, which is already smaller than the money you can't live off with your full-time pay. I'm not putting down everybody's job. That's not the way it works for everybody. I get it. So, there's a level of momentum, there's a level of urgency, and all of that dictates, an amount of time. If you have big goals, and depending on the results you want. As I've said, there's nothing wrong with making an extra $500 a month. That would have saved, I think the stats show that would have saved about 75% of the divorces last year in the United States. A simple $500 more a month. Nothing wrong with that. Just be aware of what it's going to take to get there, and that on that path, you're not going to get to $2.4 million in 24 months. Because the level of effort that draws that 500 is not enough to get you. It's not just, oh, well, I'll do this longer. No, ain't going to happen. Because you need momentum, you need magnitude of massive action, such magnitude of action. So, look, if you take 50 10-minute harmonic wave convergence trades in a month, not rushing things, but you make time to get that many trades, that's a whole big difference between 50 harmonic wave convergent trades at the 10-minute level over 6 months. What you retain from trade to trade, what your subconscious mind stores, slowly gets eroded. Neuroplasticity is based on repetition. There's not going to be a whole lot of difference between 10 and 15-minute trades. Yes, the IML traders that I work with are more seasoned toward the 15-minute chart because that's the majority of the scans. That's the smallest scan we're going to get. And so we're more attuned to the 15-minute convergence. It's no different than the 10. Characteristics are the same, just a different color level. A few less of them. You'll have some 10-minute convergences that aren't 15, but yet every 15 convergence is going to contain a 10-minute convergence. Doesn't matter. But see, also, and I'm going to end here, also in those attribute sets of the successful trader is being the MacGyver, being the explorer. I should be able to take any 10 of you traders and give you the indicator, zero training. Just tell you, this is the 30-minute wave, this is the 10-minute wave, this is the 1-minute wave. Zero training. And 6 to 9 months, that group of 10 should be able to come back and give me a trading system, and it's going to look 99% like TAB29. Some of you are so set because in your life, your past, you've been spoon-fed. It's been handed to you. Here it is. Here's steps 1 through 52. Trouble is with harmonic wave convergence, 20,000 steps depending on the situation. Not subjective, just a lot of different things you want to filter out to be selective and to be sorting. And you can't want to accelerate that by saying, show me a picture. I want to learn that. No, you learn it by doing. You learn it by doing. You can be given the framework. You can be given the foundation. But as to what works in your eyes, in your subconscious, that's only going to come from you doing it. Five pips a day. So I have a question. Is there anything wrong with mastering the 10 and 1 and just trading that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's going to be a time availability thing. But, I mean, come on. Never lose sight. 5 pips a day. Now, let me ask you something. Just not to like throw a wrench and everything, but just a philosophical thought you should work with. You know me. Wow, my pen just slipping all over. What has always driven my trading? How I became a trader? Do the math. How the new paradigm come about? Do the math. Never for the life of me can figure out how traders, outside of what we do, can just randomly say, oh, I heard this system generates X pips. I think I'll go learn how to trade that. And they're just clueless about the math. Traders today will still challenge me on size of stop loss dictating profit. It's such a weird concept to them because nobody's ever shown them. And it's so weird that they think there must be something wrong. That Gregor guy, I don't know what he's smoking, rather than keeping an open mind and exploring. That's also their paradigm. What keeps a paradigm? Because you repeat the processes inside that paradigm so strong that the subconscious mind won't accept anything else. It's the definition of a paradigm. But let me ask this question. Let's say you become so proficient at that 10-minute, 1-minute convergent without the 30-minute wave influencing it. And guess what? In the trades that you don't take because the 30-minute wave is influencing it, you will see over time, as you screen them out, whether the 30-minute wave convergence, the tendency of it being 5 pips short of convergence, how does that impact the 10-minute wave? The 30-minute wave being, retracing, and it's almost, it's at 80, 90% on the other side. You will learn then how to take not just the 10-minute harmonic wave convergences, but the 10-minute wave harmonic convergences where the 30-minute wave has a positive influence on the size of the trade and the probability of the trade. You will see that. But unless you take a volume of trades doing one thing that has a high percentage of working, you'll never have a chance of seeing that. So let me ask you a question. If this is, 5 pips a day for 5 days a week, and let's say out of 2 weeks, you hit 8 out of 10. Meaning 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So these numbers are going to be a little down in terms of scale because you're not hitting 5% 5 days a week. But you're hitting it 8 out of 10 times. What's your loss when you lose that trade? For the 2 you lose, what's your loss? If you have a 5 pip loss, that's 1%. We got spread, we got fast moving candles sometimes. Can't catch a -3 or -4. Maybe it's 1.2. So 1% per trade. So in 2 weeks, you're down 2% with your losses. Now, again, it matters where they occur, at the end, at the beginning, where that law of distribution is going to place it. And then you had 8 trades at 5 pips equals 8%. And so you're netting 6%. So one's curiosity should say, what happens and why shouldn't I, where my wins are at that high percentage and my losses are, essentially equal to the win? Why can't I move this from 2 to 3.5? Now, I'm not saying go trade at 3.5. I'm asking you to look at the math to see what can happen down the road. So now when you win, you're making 1.75. And you're going to make 8 of those non-compounded. Oh, 9.2. Is that right? No. 840, 56.0. You guys let me get away with it. What's the number? 14%. And I lose 2 at 1.75. Is that 3.5? So yeah, 10.5 versus 6. See, if I'm going to win the majority of my trades, and even 1-to-1, when I win, it equals a loss. There you go. Then you say, well, if you really do the math, when you're looking for 5 pips, you're going to get so many trades that are 7 and 11 because you're not going to exit just because you got 5 pips. You're going to wait for price to start retreat. You're going to shoot for 6 or 7 and let price come back and get out at 5. You're going to have a couple trades here and there at 4, whatever. Might have a couple at 3, and you do 2 in a day. 3 pips is not enough to raise my adrenaline. It's like, okay, it's better than a loss. I'll take it. I'm not endorphined up with a 3-pip trade. I can take another trade 6 hours later to ensure I get my 5 or 6 pips. Is that over risking when you go from 2 to 3.5? Not when it brings you an extra 4% every 2 weeks. Do the math. And we've talked about some of the simple things here too. Instead of putting your stop, if you're going to exit at 3 to 5 pips, your emergency stop loss is still an emergency stop loss, but Lord, why can't I? Oh, that's a picture. That's why I'm trying to enter a number. Put in a 8-pip stop loss instead of 10 and watch these numbers double. Don't have to increase my risk. Keep it at 2%. Just cut my calculated stop loss down. Does that slightly inflate my losses? Yeah. Because, when you used to get out at 5 pips and it was 1%, now when you get out at 5 pips, it's whatever, 1.3%. So your losses will be a little bit higher, but your percentage is still low. The number of them is still low. So it's always do the math. Do the math, do the math, do the math. And so it's, oh my gosh, this gets so, what's the word I want to say? Look at that number. Oh, at 24 months, it used to be $2.46 million. At 24 months with the fewest trading days, it used to be whatever, 943,000 or whatever. Now it's 1.943, just with 2 pips less in my calculations. Yeah. I'm just looking at the first column. I'm not worried about the second. But you can see the difference there side by side. Just 2 pips less. Look at the increased profit. 1.943 versus 593. 3.7 versus 995. 11 versus 2.5. Just 2 pips less than my calculated stop loss. And then the icing on the cake, and this is why are you messing with numbers bigger than this? There's enough variability here in such a tight zone. $2.4. and this was 11.627, 11.6. So now we're going to add 1 pip a day more. Instead of 5 pips a day, you get 6. 11.6 to $54 million with just 1 more pip. And 2 pips off your calculated stop. I look at that and I go, why are you trying to go for 25 pips? I mean, who here really thinks they're going to make $54,000 in the next 24 months? And this is the part about the math I don't get. This is not hypothetical. This is calculated. The hypothetical is in you going from 5 to 6. The hypothetical is getting 6. And you don't believe that you're going to get to 54, but you're trying to put yourself on a track to what? $1 billion in a year? Because you're going to get your 6 and then you're going to go for 6 more or 6 more or 6 more? There's Mark. For pairs with the tightest spread, I use 7 pip stop loss to calculate trade size. Yeah. Still have an emergency stop loss. Still not going to lose more than 2%. Just going to lose it at 8 or 7 versus 10. But my point being, and it's crazy to say, oh, 1 pip more. And look at the numbers. And you already don't believe this is you don't believe this is good enough or it's not doable, and yet you're going to try and do more. Yeah, just sit and think about that some. Why am I not satisfying for 5 pips a day and enjoying life? Well, there's only one answer to that. There's one real answer to that. It's not greed. It's not even ego. The answer to that is you had already preset in your head what you should be able to do on a daily basis. And so you're not going to accept anything less than that. I don't know if that's ego. I label it more towards inaccurate expectations. And sometimes that comes about, those inaccurate expectations creates need. I need to be making job level income in 6 months. So you've set your own deadline. Because this doesn't give you job level income right away. It scales up, it compounds up. So it's like some of you came to the Forex already in desperation mode. And because in reality, the Forex can't deliver that, your ego is going to rise to the occasion and you're going to say, I'm not going to stop there. My job's going away in 4.5 months. That's not going to do it for me. So what ends up happening? You make 6, then you -3, -4, and then you go big, not because Toyota was doing payroll, but you were so revenge trading to try and get back into the positive here that it just had to go. Your RAS changes, and next thing you know, -10 in a trade. Now you're -11 for the day, and these numbers go to pot. But they weren't good enough to begin with at this volume, so you had to trade more. So you have to reconcile that. That's something you have to spend some time on. Tiffany, why are you laughing at that now? No, it's okay. I was telling Dallas, the other day, just be the pot trader. And he's like, oh, some of my friends would really like that. Yeah, you know Dallas, Desmond. So anyway, do the math, but guys, in terms of our groups, in terms of what we do, prove it to yourself. Don't worry about what I think. You know, when you can find real world examples that, if you think about them, should make you understand reality, and you choose not to accept reality, or you don't see the reality because your subconscious is just saying, no, that's not the case. It should wake you up. Do you want the kid in college? He graduates 21, 22, in medical school. He's in his second year of medical school, and your daughter at age 7 needs immediate brain surgery. He's like, I got the notes from my classes. I can handle this. Or do you want, the slightly more experienced, legitimate doctor doing brain surgery? Same deal. You're getting ready to put your kid on a plane, destination to destination, chaperone. They go right from the gate down that tunnel on a plane with a flight attendant, and they get received at the other end by a flight attendant and family. $787 Dreamliner. Do you want the guy that's just got out of his 40 hours of flight school, got his private license, and the only thing he's flown is a Cessna 150? Do you want him piloting the 787? I know, corny analogy, Steve. But why do you think you should be jumping past the interim stuff that you haven't even mastered yet? See, at least that Cessna pilot has his license. You're still a student pilot. But you're all ready to jump in the seat of that Dreamliner and take off. All right? So you have to ask yourself, what is motivating me to not do or have gotten past? Now, some of you have gotten past, and that's great. And you're moving on, and that's good. And I know who you are. We have to, again, don't worry, it's not a game with me. If you know you can sit down and take 10-minute wave harmonic wave convergences without the 30-minute influencing it and win 7 to 8 of them, you're not ready to be doing anything else. Not wave 2 POT trades, not sells into the buys into the sells. Oh, look, it's at the 80. I can take this trade. Go get 7, 8 in a row, out of 10-minute harmonic wave convergences without the 30-minute wave influence. I don't care if it's a 2-pip gain or an 11-pip gain. Go do that. All the way back to bronze. Now, I know the TAB29 group don't know what bronze was, but all the way back to bronze, the goal was what? Learn how not to lose. It wasn't about see how many pips I can get. It was learn how not to lose. Because when you learn how not to lose, there is no emotion in your trading. You don't have fear. If criteria is there, you're going to take it. And if you take it over time, you're going to come up with your own superset of criteria, i.e. your sorting method, based on your RAS, that you will then get that 7 to 8 out of 10. And I guarantee you they won't be just 2-pip trades. You don't need me to evaluate that. You can evaluate it. And I'm not talking come out of the TAB29 course and see if you can take 10 trades that are good. The law of distribution says you can close your eyes and hit buy or sell, and you might end up with it. Because the demo trading process is about What? Learning how to trade, learning how, not what to do. Not a competition to try to make. So it's only when you feel like I got this down, not out of ego, but out of reality, out of KSP, that you should then give yourself that little challenge. Let me go take 10 trades. You see how I do? Not in a rush to get through 10 trades, but in a calm manner, trying to have KSP and the natural flow of what you've seen already in your demo trading guide you to a trade. Till you get to that point for a 10-minute harmonic wave convergence where the 30-minute wave isn't influencing it, you will say to yourself, as the criteria is there, I'm going to take this trade because I know I've already won it. It's that familiar. It's that consistent. It's that repeated same thing you've seen 100 times already. Now you're ready to do the challenge. Past the challenge, now you're ready to do pieces of 10, a wave 2, higher low entry. And then you master that. Same way. This is why I always say creep, crawl, walk, run. But the biggest mistake I've ever made was not putting a membership site together where you were only given authorization for certain levels of trading. And until you prove competency there, you were excluded from higher levels. It doesn't have to physically be in the center of the channel. But their scale is big enough and it's just far enough away, whether it's leaving up or coming down, where it's not going to influence the next several candles in your trade. And it's not even there a big matter because you're not trying to win, you're trying to learn what not to do. And you will learn exactly where that zone is that you don't want to mess with it. See, the thing is, what you guys are forgetting is no two RASs, no two SIGs are going to be the same. Why is that? Each one of us has a different history, different parents, different school systems, different college professors, different region of the country, different countries, different siblings, different extended family, different results from jobs that we've had over the years. Somebody's got 5 years of work, somebody's got 40 years of work. Bosses, co-workers, none of us have the same background. And that background dictates a lot of the RAS. No two of us can have the same RAS. So what is the perfect entry criteria for one is going to contain 80% technical stuff. That is, this is the kind of criteria you should be looking for. And for trader 2, and for trader 3, and trader 4. But that other 20% is going to be how they see that move, what they see in that move. And that's going to be influenced by your RAS. So it's going to be a little bit different for each person. And then there's that comfort zone in your KSP. You know, you're going to get to a certain level of comfort. You're going to feel it. You know, somebody sent me a video yesterday. He was talking about Flow, the book Flow. I think the guy's name was Sheedy. Might have heard of him. And, you know, the flow was very much aligned with RAS and SIG, except in a couple spots. because you don't want to get, I mean, he was defining a level of ecstasy in the flow. You don't want to have that. You don't want to have emotion, good or bad. You just want to be in that zone. And if you're feeling emotion, it's not going to help your RAS. It's going to hurt it. Most of the time when we get in the zone, we don't even know we're there. So it's not something we could consciously evaluate and put ecstasy to. Elation. And if we could, it would only hurt us. But same kind of concept. He talked all about the processing of the subconscious brain and the speed over that to the conscious processing and all the advantage. I mean, it sounds a lot like RAS. But it is a zone-like kind of, I'm in the zone. Just means things are happening so fast. Have you all seen that video of Bruce Lee playing tennis with his nunchucks? If you haven't seen that, you need to go Google it. You need to go Google it. You absolutely need to go Google it. What did I say? No, it's table tennis. Yeah, table tennis, ping pong. What did I say? Tennis? Go see it. It'll blow your mind. You will not sit comfortable after you watch that. Because if you think that's native gift, you got another thing coming. If you think that's native gifts, you got another thing coming. That's practice and practice and practice. To reach that level of perfection. But hey, why would he care about being so reactive in a subconscious state playing table tennis or ping pong? Because as I said, you can't compartmentalize that stuff. That transitions perfectly to a level of in the zone in self-defense. You practice the same kind of moves over and over and over and over and over and over again. So he can't, he's coming at me with his right fist. I better put my left arm up here. Hell no. It's not conscious thinking. And the subconscious skill set at mastery level comes from nothing more than repetition. But watch that video. I'm going to end it here. Just a heads up, the Wednesday the 27th, Thursday the 28th, we will not be having a session. So just X that off your calendar now. I'll put out an announcement, but just so you know in advance. Don't ask time off for the 28th so you could watch the session. All right, nothing on the charts. Oh, I did. I showed a Fibbo cluster. We'll get back to looking at trades and setups, in the next 2 weeks before that third week isn't here. And hopefully you got something of value. I really appreciate you guys for showing up. We hit a certain number about 5 minutes into the session, and we haven't, and it hasn't dropped off since then. So good stuff in your commitment to stay here and see it through for, again, what was designed to be an hour-long session, and here we are at 2. I'll get there. So with that, I will say have a great weekend, and remember, life can be short. So for those people you care and love, let them know you care and love them. I love you guys for being here and for your commitment, and I will see you in Facebook land and for sure next Thursday. Later.